Hey all, Jennifer here. I'm presenting my final presentation for POP, and I do have some notes here so that I don't miss anything. I'm gonna jump right in so I don't get too long. The first concept I wanted to talk about is all of my identities and how they privilege or oppress me. So my privileged identities are just gonna name a few. It's not an exhaustive list, but I am American born, American citizen, and born and raised here, which I think is important to note. So I'm very immersed in our culture. I have English as my first language. I am white, as well as I have white presenting skin, and I have blue eyes. I am what I believe to be pretty middle class, right on the very lower level of that, and also what is considered to be in a safer part of our community. I am able to access higher education, and I have a body that is fully movable. I'm a bartender. It's required that I can lift heavy things, I can bend, I can stand for long periods of a time, and my body, it does all of those things for me, and I feel very appreciative for that. I am cisgendered, heterosexual, and I am in a heteronormative relationship. I am agnostic and spiritually leaning. For my more disadvantaged or more invisible type oppressed identities, my oppressed identity would be considered that I am female. And some more of the like invisible type identities that give me more of a disadvantage is that I am financially dependent on my partner. I don't have any assets on my own. There's not complete like equal power sharing there. I do have some mental, I'm not sure if I'm saying this right, but like some mental disabilities that are not, as a parent, that do give me some barriers and difficulty at work and in my relationships, like ADHD, depression, anxiety, and I have some PTSD symptoms from abuse from a previous marriage. I am bi-curious, which is not something that I openly share. I don't feel completely safe sharing that out in my everyday life. And my personal beliefs about like being agnostic and spiritual are not accepted in my family. I come from a very strict pastor family, and so I do have to keep those pretty private. I also have I'm also have very different political beliefs than my entire family, and I kind of keep those private as well. So those are my identities. What have I learned about myself this semester? I think I learned a lot, but what I was going to highlight was my identity. From the identity analysis assignment, I was able to reflect more on how my identities have impacted my life path. I went through quite a bit in the onset of my adult life that I've always carried a lot of shame for, and I don't want to say regret, because I don't regret my little baby daughter. I'm a teen mom of two, but at the time, like, it felt very heavy to me being in a really strict Christian family. I had a lot of blame, I had a lot of shame, I brought a lot of shame to my family, and a lot of trauma came from that. And I think I always, and probably to this day, amounted that to like personal failure and personal blame on me, and carried that all on my own, and that I just was not good at making decisions, or that I was bad, and somehow like disgraced my family, and so it's been kind of a little bit lighter, like lightening some of that heaviness for me to really think about how my identities have shaped my life path, because I hadn't really connected those two yet. Um, so I was able to see, like, connect the dots on how I really was set up for failure and how I had that really, like, my very strict religious upbringing and very strict enforced gender roles, a lot of unprocessed trauma from that and from my childhood, um, intersected with my gender as a female, and not having a healthy support system, not having access to mental health services. That all kind of like came together to create this like environment where really it was going to be difficult for me to succeed from the onset, right? So I just listed some examples I'm going to try to run through really quick on how I really was not set up for success. And that shaped my life path was I was not supposed to develop critical thinking skills or trust myself. Like that was I was really always diverted away from that to ask an authority figure if I had questions, to ask a male figure. It was really discouraged for me to be thinking for myself, and that really conflicts with my ADHD identity. I'm such a curious person. I'm always like want to puzzle piece things together. I always have a lot going on up here, and so those things really that had a lot going on there. I wasn't taught about my body, my reproductive health. I was actually pulled out of health education classes about how to have safe sex. I was only taught strictly like that's shameful. You have to wait till you're married. So, I became pregnant like the first or second time I had sex, and then I was right away blamed and shamed for that by my family and church. I was not allowed to have my own like bank account, have my own debit card, all those things. Not able to. I really wanted to be financially independent. I was discouraged from that, discouraged from higher education and going to college. Because I became pregnant, I was in an abusive relationship. I became into an abusive relationship. I was forced to get married. And I was not allowed to get a divorce, even with abuse happening. And when I would try to tell my family abuse was happening, like males were believed more. And he would say it's not happening. And I was kind of written off as being dramatic. And so I lost like a lot of that support system from my family. Obviously my mental health was really broken, but mental health wasn't viewed as real in Christianity, in the sect I was in. It was viewed as like, you just need to pray. You just need to get closer to God. Something demonic might be happening. And so I didn't have access for services I was needing while I was being abused, while I was going through tons of anxiety, depression, and I was becoming suicidal. To escape the abuse. This is why I'm trying to show like how this all kept like piggybacking on each other and kind of snowballing. So to escape the abuse, I actually ran away and I became homeless. And that was due to having no financial resources, right, that I was able to acquire on my own. And as a punishment for my partner, he cut off my phone line. He cut off my debit card. So I had no access really to anything. And my family wasn't believing me that all of this was happening. So I kept looking like the crazy one, right? And the one who was like overreacting. My partner, knew my work schedule. I actually did, once I kind of got less like out from under his grips, I was able to get a job, but he would like call my work to find out my work schedule, and he was stalking me, and he actually began receiving death threats. And then when I would try to tell my family about this, they would like form it in a way that I should feel sorry for him, right? That like I was doing all these terrible things to him by leaving him. And because I was so young, right, and I had been raised in these strict gender roles and in these Christian beliefs of how I need to be good and I need to be very empathetic to everyone else's feelings, I internalized a lot of that blame, that this was my fault and I should, that I was taking on the responsibility of everything that was going on in our relationship as it was my fault. So I did actually break out of this relationship, but I started all over. I was 23 with 2 kids, no financial resources, no real family support, no mental health services, no job, no home, no child support, and that was all, at the time, I believed, like, due to my own, like, personal mess ups. And I was believing, and probably again for a very long time, that this was like an amount of my poor decision making. Like, why did I get with a guy like that? Why did how stupid of me to become a teen mom? And I, instead of seeing like this larger, broader picture of how all of these systems were in place, that really, really, really contributed to the outcomes for me. So long story short, that has really helped me to see, lighten the load I've been carrying. So I do appreciate that. And number 3, and final point, my areas for awareness and how I'm going to continue improving my personal growth and my professional development. Something I want to be aware of is just not like over identifying with female clients. I mean, I do really, really want to serve female clients, but I don't want to like over identify or assume that I know their experience or their problems, just because I've had, some of my own, or maybe they seem similar. I really, really don't want to bring my own bias or my own past experiences into what they're experiencing, right? I also want to be careful not to believe that any sort of oppression or disadvantages I had as a female or in Christianity are the same as my clients. I really want to treat everyone as a very unique individual who's having their own lived experience, and get to know, like, center the client and get to know how they're really experiencing it and what they really are perceiving as the problem or problems, and like work with them and be an ally with them on what their solutions are as they see it. And then, the last few things I put down on what I want to practice is just active listening. I always will have that as the thing I want to get better at, is just always making sure I'm not in my own brain, but I'm really, really listening. I'm listening to their tone. I'm watching their body language. I'm listening for any sort of subtleties or like a specific word they might have used, and being really curious about that, because I think that's going to help me really grow in my ability to like be their best ally for the client, is just really, really active listening and being so present with them. And then really seeing the client as the best expert over their own life. And then being careful, especially since I come from a Christian background, that I'm not trying to fix or save anyone from their problems, but knowing and regarding them as so highly capable, and really mining for all of their strengths, mining for all of their resources, and knowing that like I am not someone to save them or fix them, that they are. And really kind of just being careful when I might see that coming up, especially knowing my Christian background was so much about needing to save other people. So thank you so much for listening. Sorry I went slightly over, and it's been an amazing semester, and hope to see you guys all in the next one.